Why did I start playing Lies of P? Was it because of the intriguing setting of the game? Was it because I'm a big fan of Soulslike games? Maybe I just liked the game's presentation or unique weapon system. To be perfectly honest with you, I was almost gonna pass on playing Lies of P until I watched the trailer of the game and saw you could do this. Does that mean I bought and played a game based on one ability? Yes.
Wow!
You see, to me, there's nothing cooler than the Final Fantasy Dragoon. Given the opportunity, in any game I play, I try to equip a spear, preferably one with the ability to jump. Pretending to be a Dragoon in every game I play is just one of my guilty pleasures, and Lies of P just lets me do that. Getting started, the game throws 3 combat styles at you. I ended up picking the deck style for no particular reason. Switching to the advanced tab didn't really tell me anything, but just in case you're wondering, here's how the stats actually work. Vitality affects your HP and guard regain, and Vigor determines your maximum stamina. Capacity increases your weight limit and legion supply. Motivity, technique, and advance all increase your damage depending on your weapon. That was a very basic explanation of how the stats work. Anyway, my early game was fairly uneventful. I just spammed light attacks while sprinkling in some heavy attacks, basically ripping through everything. I learned fairly quickly that applying a lot of pressure on enemies allowed you to quickly stagger them for quick and easy fatal attacks. I made my way through the tutorial level and poked the first boss to death, eventually leading me to the main hub of the game, the Krat Hotel. It was here that I would meet the most important character in the game. No, not her. This cat. While I was here, I was also given my first and last Legion arm. This was the Legion arm that I had seen in the trailer. Unfortunately, I'd have to progress much further in the game to unlock the link attack ability that I wanted. So I set off for the next area. While I was progressing, I was still getting used to the controls and eventually learned how powerful Fable attacks were. Fable attacks are really good at getting free staggers off elite enemies, allowing me to delete health bars fairly easily. I encountered the second boss, and just like everything else so far, I just poked it until it was dead. It was at this point that I was starting to get tired of my starting weapon. It was working pretty well, but I really wanted to try something new, preferably something that was shaped like a spear. So I started exploring each area very meticulously. While I was exploring, I encountered an elite mob that dropped a very important item, a Legion Caliber. These materials are used to unlock more Legion arm abilities. I would need a total of 6 Legion Calibers to unlock my jumping attack, so one of my main priorities is finding more calibers as quickly as possible. I continued combing through the area, unlocking some shortcuts, draining the poisonous fluid from the area, and killed another elite.
Whoopsie.
With the bottom area drained of the poison, I collected every item I could see, and eventually found my second weapon, the Booster Glaive. And to complete my loot collection of the area, I decided to beat the nearby mini-boss. The mini-boss dropped a pretty important item that I've been collecting from previous bosses. Quartz are used to unlock perks in the P-Organ system. A lot of build individuality and quality of life upgrades are locked behind quartz. It's a pretty good idea to be as thorough as possible while exploring, to collect as much quartz as you can get. With my shiny new weapon, I practiced using it on an elite before proceeding to the next boss. The Booster Glaive is much slower than the starting rapier that I had, so I couldn't spam attacks as much as I wanted anymore. In exchange for my slower swing speed, I gained a devastating charge attack. After a little bit of practice, I was ready for the next boss. It was at this point I encountered my first difficult encounter in the game. I died a total of 6 times before adapting to the boss's moveset. I had to start playing more patiently, either blocking or parrying most of the boss's major attacks. One of the major upsides to parrying enemy moves is that it builds up stagger, giving me an opportunity to break their stance and use a fatal attack. This fight was my first real opportunity to practice and appreciate parrying, and once I had gotten it down, the boss was defeated fairly quickly. I quickly proceeded to the next area where I would encounter a new enemy type.
Zombie!
After battling my way into the cathedral, I prepared myself to explore the area in its entirety.
What the hell is even that?
I did a little parkour, helped some strangers, and succumbed to my intrusive thoughts. I even discovered a bunch of secret areas. Although I was excited to acquire an actual spear, I ended up not liking the moveset, so I carried on with my booster glaive. This chest had a Legion plug, which for an ordinary player would be pretty exciting, but since I have the only Legion arm I need, it was pretty useless for me. I continued onward, tearing through the level, and eventually found this guy. This is the merchant that exchanges boss drops for special weapons. This will become important in a little bit. I had now reached the next boss. I was ready to overcome another exciting challenge. Unfortunately, before I had even realized what happened, I accidentally one-shot him. I can't say for sure if he was a difficult encounter or not, but the fact that I had killed him in my first try either meant I was getting really good at the game, or he was just an easy fight. Before heading to the next area, I decided to check what kind of weapon the boss had dropped.
Oh, it's you. This hotel is indeed a refuge from the dangers of the outside world. I am the Hound, a descendant of the city's most aristocratic family. Repaying debts is what we know.
To my surprise, the boss unlocked a spear? With the ability to jump? Excited by the prospect of a new weapon, with a very Dragoon-like fable art, I instantly upgraded it and set off to play with my new moveset. This weapon was everything that I was looking for. It scaled perfectly with my current stats and was a pretty sick-looking spear, and had a fable art that was fit for me. I breezed through the next section, making friends, losing friends, and before I knew it, I was already at the next boss. I was really looking forward to putting my new weapon to good use. This boss encounter would be unique because I would have to fight up to 4 different enemies at the same time. Unfortunately, just like the previous boss, I accidentally one-shot this encounter. All I had to do was focus on the eldest brother for an easy win. I'll just pretend the new weapon power-up made me OP. Eager to progress further, I dove into the next area. Other than the incredibly creepy doll enemies, there's not a lot to talk about here. I did encounter a forced mini-boss fight. Luckily for me, the boss was human, which are really easy to fight. I had already fought a number of hostile humans, and the strat that always worked for me is to just sidestep and backstab them. With the mini-boss defeated, I proceeded to the next checkpoint. Before getting to the next actual boss, I messed around with an elite for a bit. This guy was actually really good for practicing parries, and for the next boss, I was gonna need it. With my current streak of easily beating the last few bosses, I thought this fight wouldn't be any different. Oh, how wrong I was. It took 8 runs before something just started to click with this boss. The difficulty spike from this guy alone just blew my mind. He was faster, had longer combo strings, and was just more erratic than any of the bosses I had fought previously. I will say though, once you've got his movements down, this fight is so incredibly satisfying. Excited after my solid victory, I moved on to the next level. Let's just skip this area. Skipping forward a bit, I progressed a little further in the story. In every area that I had visited, I had thoroughly explored and collected every item available. Up to this point, I had already collected 5 Legion calibers, and I only needed 1 more for my desired Legion arm ability. And that's when this guy showed up. Beating this guy gave me the last Legion caliber that I needed. I ran back to base and immediately unlocked the Link attack ability. Now that I had acquired the one thing that drove me to play this game, what was next? Well, I beat the game. No, really, I beat the game. So there, I did it. I justified my purchase and had my fun. Was the game worth it? Yeah, actually. The gameplay was really good and I got to do what I wanted. If you made it to this part of the video, let me know in the comments if you know of any other games that will let me pretend to be a Dragoon. I might have already played them, but I'm hoping someone can suggest a game that I haven't heard of. Thanks for watching!